Hello, Rejects!
Hello, Rejects.
Greg here.
John here.
We're going to talk about Ben Affleck's The Batman.
The Batman.
And also how it's announced that the official villain, will be Deathstroke. Let's kick this off. Let's kick this off. Movie talk coming at you. The Batman, that's a cool title. I think it's a really cool title. Very simple. Easy to hold on to. I like it better than Batman. I don't get how you really do a video about the fucking title, honestly.
They just took the name of the character and they added the.
Yeah. You want to make it a huge deal at the title.
Like, the Batman is a cool sounding two words, but, you know, we add the and the main idea of the movie to a lot of titles now.
Yeah.
Isn't the new Predator movie called The Predators?
Yeah. I don't know if this will be the all-defining Batman film, but that title kind of holds a mantle to kind of have that be the defining Batman film. Yeah, let's start talking about the title. Deathstroke, though, as the villain. I believe Joe Manganiello is supposed to be playing. What's the guy's name?
Manganiello?
Mangeldorn.
Mangeldorn.
The guy whose penis you see in Magic Mike. I loved him in True Blood. He was actually my least favorite actor in True Blood. But
Flash Thompson.
Deathstroke as the villain, though, I think is a great choice. I know a lot of people have been asking, can it be the Joker? Is it going to be Jared Leto's Joker in there? Is it going to be Black Mask? No, it's going to be Deathstroke. And Deathstroke, I know he's gotten interpretations in the Batman games. He's more a part of Nightwing's Rogue Gallery than he is Batman's, even though he is a Batman villain as well. But
He's a DC villain.
He's a DC overall villain. He's a mercenary. He has, superhuman abilities, but he's not too superhuman to the point where it takes away humanity from him, because he has really high intellect. He can think 9 times faster than the average human being.
Yeah, he doesn't have a magic power.
Yeah,
it's all of his senses are enhanced. He's stronger, faster,
he can
more
recover
agile,
faster too. But I think overall, though, he is a great opponent to call this film The Batman and to define who is Batman in terms of Batman's set of skills. I think Deathstroke is a perfect counterpart to that. He's also a really trained, highly skilled fighter.
Like Batman,
and that's his main forte. But he also kills relentlessly if he has to. He's known to commit massacres and whatnot. Deathstroke, he can kind of switch between his moral codes, his code of honor and whatnot. I don't know if Ben Affleck is going to address the fact that in BVS, he was, killing people in the film. A big part of Batman, of what we've known from the interpretations, is Batman doesn't kill. That's a big part of his moral code, is to not do that. Deathstroke, that's not really part of his code. He kills, whenever he feels like he should kill or when he has to kill.
Well, yeah, and that's what can make this movie interesting, it seems like to me, is you're going to have two guys with very conflicting ideologies, a decent matchup in terms of abilities.
Yeah, because Deathstroke is kind of a lone warrior. He doesn't really conform to good or evil side. He's kind of just a standalone dude who occasionally takes the bad side and occasionally takes the good side even.
Depending on where he is in life.
Depending on where he is in life. And one interpretation I saw was him in Arrow, which was a cool interpretation that was more about before he became, the really defined Deathstroke mercenary in the streets of not just Starling City, but all over the DC worlds, Gotham and whatnot, Bloodhaven. In terms of set of skills, he's the perfect opponent towards Batman. He's an extreme martial artist. He knows how to use weapons as well. Batman, despite some stuff we saw in BVS, he doesn't use guns, but Deathstroke really uses his guns. And I think that watching the two of them fight will be a great thing, because Batman is not superhuman in any capacity. He's super skilled, and that's all through training. Whereas Deathstroke, he had training, but then he also had enhanced abilities after having experiments done on him. Because, the Joker, you can't really have a cool fight scene between Batman and the Joker. You just can't.
It's got to be a situation the Joker set up that Batman has to go deal with.
Yeah, because the Joker's more about getting the ultimate rise out of Batman. But in terms of seeing a villain that Batman can go toe-to-toe with, I feel like The Dark Knight Rises tried doing that with Bane and Batman. But if you really want to honor the comics, Bane in the comics is a wrestler. I don't recall him having the same kind of fighting style as Bruce Wayne developed. I'm really hoping that for this one, they have very specific fighting styles. Because we see the way that Batman can fight in BVS. Now it'd be cool to see him go toe-to-toe with someone who could fight similarly to him.
Yeah, you'll have two tactical, critical thinkers with their own enhanced abilities. Not that they're the same, but that you have a matchup that makes sense on a level playing field. Bane versus Batman, at least in the context of The Dark Knight Rises especially, is two very different ideologies and fighting styles, and in this it seems like you'll have at least something similar, guns versus gadgets and whatnot.
To me, Deathstroke in some ways is what Batman could have been if he kind of crossed over a little bit.
If he had killed Joe Chill.
A lot of the times they talk about the Joker being what Batman could be turned into, but I really think Deathstroke is more along the lines of what Batman could be, because Batman has these wide variety of martial arts skills, combat skills, and that's Deathstroke, who kind of falls into much darker territory. I mean, they even had rumors of Nightwing making an appearance in BVS, which he didn't. I'm hoping that this does somehow link, if they're going to do their... As much as I want this to be a standalone film, I know the producers are going to step in and make it connect to some bigger multiverse. The multiverse. Ever seen the one?
One.
In some bigger cinematic universe. And I'm hoping that with the use of Deathstroke, because he is known more as a Nightwing villain, they do connect that to him, like, I don't know if he lives and then going to Bloodhaven, Batman, or some stupid shit. And Joe Manglehorn.
Joe Manglehorn.
I've for years can't get his name right. I just refuse to even learn it now. In the films I've seen him in, and in the work of True Blood, I've seen every episode of True Blood. The guy definitely has a good body type. We all know that.
Buff as hell.
He can have like the cool, serious stare. But in terms of his acting abilities, I'm not sure if he's really the guy I would have first imagined to be Deathstroke, because I don't have enough strong faith in his dramatic acting abilities to truly believe this. I don't know. Ben Affleck's a great director. He's not just a great filmmaker, but he's also an actor's director, so he knows how to bring great performance. Out of all Ben Affleck's movies, the number one thing he does is make another actor look better than him. Like, he tends to do that.
Yeah, and that gives me some faith in this. I get why people like Joe Manganiello.
He's a charming, charismatic actor.
Yeah, definitely. But, you know, I don't think I've seen a performance yet where I'm like, that! Some chops, you know? I think Ben Affleck would be a great director for him to work with for this especially.
Yeah. And in the comics of Deathstroke, he had a wife at one point, and he has a son, too. I don't know if that's all going to be included in the film. I don't know if they're going to include his whole backstory and whatnot.
His mom's name is Martha.
Yeah. That's how they stop fighting in the film. I hope that the film does provide a complexity there, too. You know, one of the great things from the Dark Knight trilogy was having counterpart villains that challenge Bruce Wayne's point of views towards life, his ideologies and whatnot.
Exactly.
And I really hope that Deathstroke has that too, because Deathstroke, he's kind of like in between of all ideologies. He doesn't have a very specific point of view towards things. It's all very kind of circumstantial for Deathstroke, where he's going to lean to. At the end of the day, he's mainly just a survivor. And, you know, like, he's a contract killer.
He's a lone wolf. He's out for himself.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see why he becomes the main villain in this story. It would be cool if this Batman movie would be the first R-rated solo Batman film. Highly doubt that's going to happen. It would be cool, though, if they did, because Deathstroke can be a very violent villain.
I feel like to truly, if you have a villain who uses weapons, like, I feel like you kind of have to.
I mean, I know Deadpool was inspired by Deathstroke. They're very similar characters, except for the whole like comedic element of it. But Deadpool R-rated, and it needed the R rating for it to really work. And I feel like to capitalize off Deathstroke's abilities, for someone who can go on killing massacres with his bullets and shit, I really feel like, yeah, it would be much more effective, and you'd have a much more terrifying villain and someone who's really enraged Batman. There's even a 1% chance. Then I totally think that making an R rating work. Doubt that DC's going to go that route. However, you know, it's weird. I feel like if they made it R-rated, I feel like people would tune in. At the same time, though, Deathstroke's not as popular of a villain as other rogue gallery villains of Batman.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the obvious choice, but that could be cool. It's a basic way to phrase this, but it's all in how they handle it. I really take advantage of the matchup of these two characters in all that they are, and not just, you know, how are they gonna fight, you know?
Yeah.
You look back at a lot of different action movies and stuff, you know, I'm not saying that everything needs to be rated R by any stretch, but if you have a villain like that, it seems like to truly make them villainous, to understand the consequences, why we need this guy off the street, why Batman needs to fight this guy, we need to be able to see the repercussions of his actions.
And the violent horror that Deathstroke can infuse is a very significant part to what makes him... You know, he used to be called Deathstroke the Terminator, and some people still call him that.
We gotta be afraid of a villain. That's part of the trouble with a lot of these movies, is like, we're not really afraid of the threat, because we know that our hero eventually will have it covered. That's a place, I feel like, for this, an R rating, you know, could help that, because that can make Deathstroke truly seem villainous.
But overall, I do think it's a great choice for Deathstroke to be the villain, because you take away the superhuman abilities, he's still a very skilled, tactical warrior just like Bruce Wayne is. Now he has the superhuman abilities, and I mean, I'm sure that'll be included in the film.
Origins.
Yeah, having those two go toe-to-toe, it would be the first Batman film where I feel like we're getting two very... Like, I know Bane is a similar fighter in The Dark Knight Rises, and he was from the League of Shadows as well, so that's why he has a similar fighting style. But this would be a really well-justified reason to see them go toe-to-toe, because Batman has his weapons, his gadgets, Deathstroke has his as well. I'm really excited to see, because I feel like this will be the first time that Ben Affleck really amps up his action directing.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing that, because there's some great action in the town. Live by Night or Lie by Night looks like there's going to have some cool action sequences, but Batman's a full-on tactical martial artist, and I'm really excited to see what Ben Affleck does with directing action scenes such as that.
And the intellect too. Like I do hope that they bring in that detective vibe as well. You know, the critical thinking and the reflexes, the mental processing and stuff like that.
One thing about Deathstroke is that his intellect is incredibly high. That's part of his superhuman ability, is how high his intellect is. So it would kind of suck if they don't have that.
Well, yeah,
if
Batman
they just
is the
only
world's
have
greatest detective.
Yeah, that's
know?
right. You have the world's greatest detective going up against a highly intellectual supervillain who also has a wide variety of like combat skills as well.
Yeah.
As opposed to just going up against intellect.
Yeah. So let's see both in equal measure.
All right, guys.
If you're new to the channel.
If you're new to the channel, subscribe today. Become a rat. John is the mayor of Facebook.com/the and Boomhots. Go check out those pages there. And shout out to Matt Damon.
Hey, Matt.
Matt Damon.
When are you going to get in a superhero movie?
When are you going to get in a superhero movie?
Spandex time.
I think Matt Damon would be a great villain as Catwoman.
Sure.
And playing Catwoman in the next Ben Affleck film?
Yeah, let's...
And they have a kid?
No, I want Matt Damon to be Poison Ivy.
I don't want it to be a gay relationship. I want him to play a lady. I think Matt Damon has enough range. We saw it in the latest Bourne film that he can do that.
That's a terrible idea.